and thank you for joining us again on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Bukola Samuel Wenimo. Today on the program, APC moves to end crisis in Edo, Ondo, and other states, appoints Lawan to head 10-man reconciliation committee. Zamfara APC warns Senator Kabiru Marafa to stay away as former Governor Abdulaziz Yari makes big homecoming. And later on the show, gunmen abduct district head of Birnin Gwari as fear grips travelers heading home for Christmas. I will be hanging out with Babajide, Kolade-Otitoju, and Odufowokan. Journalist Hangout starts now. The fight against corruption in Nigeria is very much alive and it is being given more bite. Nigeria's former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Adoke Mohammed is back in the country to face corruption trial regarding Malibu oil deal. He was escorted back to the country by Interpol at the instance of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, after a 5-week legal gridlock in Dubai. So let the trial begin. EFCC seems to be on fire lately. Welcome, Babajide, Kolade-Otitoju, and Odufowokan.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Babajide, do you agree that the FCC has upped its game in recent times?
Yes, we can support that statement with some of the very recent developments in respect of the war against corruption. Remember the case of the head of service. The head of service was investigated by the EFCC, and as soon as it was through with his investigation, the EFCC chairman turned in his report, and the president had no choice but to fire her. So her trial will begin any time from now. It's in respect of money laundering to the tune of a little over £1 billion. So that's someone high up in this administration who has been investigated and who is soon to be put on trial. And don't forget what they've been doing in respect of the PA and ID. The EFCC has done quite a lot in that area. And then this securing the conviction of the former Abia State Governor, Odufowokan, is significant because it's always difficult to secure the conviction of politically exposed persons because they have so much money to hire the best lawyers who can kick the can down the road, frustrate the trial. But EFCC has succeeded in securing that conviction. So I think that the commission is headed in the right direction under the leadership of Ibrahim Magu. He's a trained forensic accountant, so that has made it a lot easier for him to crack big cases because he knows what to do to get to the root of such cases. Remember, even Bukola Saraki had some of his buildings forfeited temporarily to government the other day, and so many have had such properties forfeited permanently to government. So I think they are doing well, and this one is significant because it initially looked like they would never be able to bring him back to Nigeria, but due to pressure from the EFCC, the authorities in Dubai allowed him to be repatriated, escorted back to Nigeria by Interpol officials, and he will definitely have his day in court.
Absolutely. Dari, do you have similar views?
Yeah, I share everything about the Adoke saga here. See, it's one issue that generated quite a lot of controversy, and it was fast becoming as if he would never, face the law. But until he's proven guilty, he's still a suspect, and he has been treated like the suspect that he is. I am particularly impressed with the way EFCC was able to work with the Interpol and the authorities in Dubai. If you look at it, Dubai is fast becoming some sort of a safe zone for people who have cases to answer in their various countries because of this issue of the United Arab Emirates appears not to be interested in signing any bilateral agreement with other countries. But in spite of that, the EFCC was able to convince the authority over there, was able to work with the Interpol, and we have a Adoke back home now. It's something that can now make somebody to say, yes, the FCC seems to be learning from our complaints. Because you will recall that here, it's as if it has become traditional to say we are afraid of EFCC when it comes to getting convictions. That prosecution seems to be a very difficult thing for the agency. But of late, if you look at yes, Adoke has not been prosecuted, but the success in bringing him home, having him repatriated, is a big one. Then if you talk about convictions, we are just talking about Senator Kabiru. That's a long one. Magu and his team inherited that case. Like many others, they inherited, and they're gradually getting convictions. So one is beginning to get convinced that with more commitment and more help from the necessary places, the Magu-led administration would so
that's inside the EFCC bus at the airport.
It's been handed over by Interpol, and the EFCC has it. And he will definitely have a lot of questions to answer. I am sure, having fought so hard to avoid being repatriated, he also will be prepared.
And he's a lawyer.
to see if he can get off the hook. But yes, he's a suspect. We are not saying he's guilty yet. We are not lawyers, neither are we judges. But let him have his day in court. That's been what we've been saying. And that's what the drama and the trial. Because with this trial, I foresee a lot of drama. It's just about to start. So it's an interesting thing. And big ups for EFCC in getting this started. Not done, but started.
Now, going forward, how does the EFCC sustain the tempo? Particularly, let's look at the case of the former Minister of Petroleum, Dezani, Alison Madweke.
Well, Dezani has been in the UK for more than 4 years now. Her passport is in the custody of the Metropolitan Police, but they have not been able to find a concrete case upon which she can be brought to trial. This, unfortunately, is the situation. Initially, when she said she wanted to come home for trial, the EFCC said no, she should remain there, because they felt that the London Metropolitan Police would succeed in prosecuting her the way they succeeded in prosecuting Ibori and his girlfriend and other people, his lawyer and others that were jailed along with him. But in this case, the London Met have not been able to, London Metropolitan Police have not been able to find a cast iron case against Dezani. Yes, we read all kinds of things about her, but he appears to have demonstrated some uncanny ability to navigate her way through through trouble water in a manner that will be difficult for you to be able to nail her. So, and they will never take her to court unless they are sure that they will secure conviction. They don't behave like us here, whereby you put someone on trial and then start looking for evidence. That's not the way they do their thing. So now the EFCC is frustrated about her case. The other day, the EFCC was saying that they will, it will want her to be repatriated home. But you once said no, that she should stay there because you felt the justice system over there was better and faster. But the truth is, the London Metropolitan Police, as at today, have not been able to find a cast iron evidence of corruption against her to the point that they can bring her to court.
We wish the EFCC all the best in that regard. Moving on now, since its ascendancy to power in Nigeria's political history, the ruling All Progressives Congress APC is never far from contending with internal crisis. but the party has also demonstrated its capacity for reconciliation. It demonstrated that further on Wednesday when it raised a 10-member National Reconciliation Committee headed by the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, to resolve the lingering crisis within the APC in states like Edo, Ondo and others. A statement by the APC National Publicity Secretary, Lanre Isa Onilu, said the committee is empowered to address grievances of party members and resolve existing conflicts. Babajide, similarly, earlier in the year, the APC mandated the former national leader to also embark on reconciliation moves and confidence-building moves within the party. But we know there was little result in that regard. Yes, it's a long 10-man list, but the task before the panel is just as tall. Are you optimistic that it will achieve results that the National Assembly and the former national leader did not achieve?
Well, my point is, was the national leader allowed to do the work at that time? It wasn't actually last year, it was 2018, very early in 2018. And at that time, we still had the former chairman. So what he did was to go and set up a parallel committee, reconciliation committee, to frustrate the efforts of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We had gone to a few places, you know, and you can trust him that given his clout, he will have done a massive job. But Baba Oyegun at that time decided to move, you know, set up a parallel committee, something that he didn't think of doing until the president gave Bola Ahmed Tinubu the task, just to, so that he doesn't get the credit for uniting the party. And at the end of the day, some of those problems were not resolved. It led to APC losing some states, like Adamawa, like Bauchi, you know, in the last election. Even Oyo, you know, because they had crisis in Oyo as well. So, in this case, you remember that last week I complained that don't they have leaders in the APC anymore? That crisis will be left to linger almost endlessly. But it's a good thing that they've shown an interest in resolving this. I think that it's a little too late in the case of Edo State. No one is God, but I think that a lot of water has passed under the bridge. I don't think that they can truly, conclusively reconcile Obaseki and Oshomole, because some things have been said, and you can bet that the contending parties will not forgive one another. They may pretend, smile, take photo opportunities with the president and all that, but with some of what we have had, with the consistent bad-mouthing of Oshomole by those who some years back could not look him straight in the face, I think that a lot of damage has been done. I would have expected them to move a lot quicker, but this one is a little bit late. Something is wrong with the APC. If they had a meeting on November 22nd and they resolved that the matter, that the reconciliation committee should be set up, why has it taken about a month before that committee was set up? I mean, it should have been treated with greater urgency. This is the problem. There are some very decent individuals in this committee, people who have clout, people who are respected. Former governors, Almakura, former governor Shetima, you know, Nasiru Aliko Koki, who was, a big politician in Kano in those days. I expect that, well, they will be able to give their best. Maybe they will succeed in some of the other states, because we must realize that states like even Cross River, I saw John Eno, his name written as the secretary to the Reconciliation Committee, but the crisis in Cross River, Eno is himself an active party, an interested party in the crisis, you know. So I don't know how you bring such a person to come and be secretary of the committee, because he is also is an interested party. Is one of the persons that need to be reconciled for them to have unity within the APC in Cross River. And then you've made him the secretary of the committee. How do you defend that? And of course, everyone remembers what the governor of Ondo State did. He blocked the opportunities of some APC members to be elected into the National Assembly. He backed the rival parties just because he didn't like some of the decisions that the national chairman took. Now, elections are coming. Do you expect that some of those who have been frustrated
will
simply forget what had happened? So it's a tough one to convince them that, look, that they should not respond in kind to what Marakuni did in Ondo State. But I wish the committee good luck.
Derek, for the other states where there are also disputes within the APC, i.e. Rivers State, Ogun State, if the parties in Edo, Ondo will not sheath their swords, do you think the panel will achieve success in these other states?
You didn't mention Adamawa State.
Okay, Adamawa.
I'll toe the line of the maestro in picking out somebody from the committee and asking why such a person. Senator Binta Garba. This is somebody who is also back in our own home state, party to the crisis they are in. And you see, I think APC, I don't want to repeat the line that something seems to be wrong with the party. It's becoming very glaring that the party needs to reinvent itself if it must survive the political battles ahead. I am not particularly impressed by the list of committee members. I am not. If you remove the likes of Babajide Akonde, maybe Governor Almakura, former governor, the man from Borno too, that's Shetima. I've been looking for the people, with due respect to the people whose name appear on this list, but the task at hand, APC, in my view, still have people who should have been drafted in for this job.
You can mention their names.
I wouldn't want to. I would not want to. But if only,
but who you think can better dispense with the task?
First committee under the national leader.
He probably has Asiwaju Bola Ahmed.
I'm coming. If you look at that committee, he was going to like even pick more persons, according to him, who understands the politics of each concerned state. In the only public statement he made on that issue, that was what he said, that he will look at each concerned state, pick people who understand the politics, who are not party to the crisis, who the gladiators will listen to. Now, if you are going to go state, look, he mentioned Ondo. Please, who in this list will convince House of Reps members who lost their seat because their governor worked against them? Senators who will not return because their governors were against, assemblymen who were pushed out simply because they had issue. Who in this league will look at the people in Ondo in the face and say, halt, I cannot. Maybe Baba Konde will do his best, but it has to be a collective effort. The committee here appears to me like another effort, like just go and try, and that is not what APC needs now. APC needs to take the bull by the horn. Edo, the national chairman himself, is a party. You need somebody who both parties will listen to. If it takes Mr. President himself getting involved in resolving the issue in Edo, it will be in the interest of APC, because you cannot have an Oshi Omole fighting the governor and you assume that APC will sail that water freely and safely. I am not one of those who believe either of these two parties can do without the other. Politics is dynamic, of course, but if we are to look at it on the face value of what is happening and what has happened in other states, we have seen states where this kind of things happened, it was taken with levity, and the party bid the governance in that state farewell. So I see a situation where this committee in another 1 month will still be unable to resolve, not just in Edo. Look at Adamawa. where the party lost because some people refused to work with the sitting governor. And these people said, look, if you field this man, we will lose this election. And all efforts to make them see reason and say, okay, he has the ticket already, work with me. They preferred to stay off and watch him lose than to work with him and retain the state for the party. So that's how deep-seated and deep-rooted the crisis in some of these states are. And unless similar deep-rooted solutions are proffered, we will just be, APC will be scratching the surface of a sore that has the capacity of becoming a big wound. That's
Speaking of which, Babajide, you recall that 2 days ago we were talking just on this platform, and you mentioned that some that were suspended, their suspension was not actually, backed by any law, because those suspended were able to also suggest ministers, and their they had their way. So is it really about, a panel constituted to resolve some of these issues, or mechanisms within the party to check impunity in the future? Because we're already looking at elections in Ondo State in another 1 year or so.
I think that there has to be standing committees within the party that can help resolve internal schisms. That's the way you pronounce it, Abi?
Yeah.
Internal schisms within the party. It's embarrassing. In no less than 12 states, they have one crisis or another. Look at Zamfara. They fought and fought and fought, and they could not be reconciled. They could not be convinced to withdraw their cases in court. Some of them were happy to just watch the party lose. Any party where people can make up their minds that, look, if I don't have my way, then everything should collapse. You can't have that kind of party and expect that the party will live long, because it's a very divisive tendency. You have to find a way to punish people who behave in that manner. Make examples of them. Teach them exemplary lessons. But what do we have? Such people get received warmly in the seat of power, and they won't suggest ministers, which means that some of the very powerful people within the party do not actually think that those guys have done anything wrong. And when a person feels that, look, the people matter, do not think that I've done anything wrong, then they will do it again. They will do it again. So APC must find a way to banish impunity. APC must find a way to resolve disputes once they happen, decisively and quickly. Since the elections were held, I've said it on this program before, that Oshomole had not done anything to bring back many people who were aggrieved, and as a result contributed to the fall of their party. Because in so many of those days where you had crisis, all you needed to do was say, look, the elections are over, let's reconcile. No such move has been made months after we had the elections. So it's not an ideal situation at all. You can't keep moving from one crisis to another, because invariably these problems will bring down the party. So I want to encourage them that as they try to resolve this crisis, they should put mechanisms in place that will banish impunity and ensure that there's internal democracy. Internal democracy is important, because if you don't have it, many people will leave the party aggrieved or work against the party. The party should be able to promote internal democracy, promote internal mechanisms for resolving disputes. Once you have this, then the party will be a lot more stronger, a lot more cohesive, and unanimity will not be difficult to achieve, and it will go on to win elections again and again. Rivers State, I still don't know how they want to resolve the dispute, because an individual thinks that he owns the party in the state. You must be able to tell that individual that you don't own the party. Other people in the party are just as important as you are. So if the leaders of the party are partial, even in resolving this conflict, then it will be back to square one. And I suspect that a lot of them are partial. So you must be able to tell the truth, tell them to their face that, look, if you don't want this crisis resolved, we will kick you out of the party no matter how big you are. When you begin to let people realize that they are not bigger than the party, they will sit up and work for the collective.
All right, we have Pastor Emmanuel from Rivers State, from Ondo State. Hello, Pastor Emmanuel.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for holding on. So go ahead, you're on.
God bless you.
Amen.
You see, my contribution is, actually, I agree to you.
Thank you, sir.
It's been wonderful joining you 5 o'clock every day. I have to put on my gen just to connect with you.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
The Lord is our strength.
Please, what is happening in APC is a reflection of what we are having in Nigeria as a nation. The images of APC is a marriage that is artificial. And I can tell you, I don't see, by the grace of God, I'm a pastor. I'm not trying to be, pessimistic, but I don't see any solution ahead. So, and not the characters that comes together.
Pastor Emmanuel, thank you for calling. Unfortunately, just before he made his point, we lost that call. But Dari, do you have alternative suggestions as to what the party can do, mechanisms it can put in place to check impunity?
You see, when we talk about democracy, it's actually more than just party politics. The politicians, the players within the party, are representations of the larger society. So if the intention of democracy is to ensure that people have a say in those who govern them, then party politics must be carried out in such a way that party members, no matter how low they are, have inputs in those who emerge as their representatives in the general elections. And that this is where all this, whatever you see happening in APC today is a power struggle. People want to position themselves where they will be able to determine who emerge as flag bearers. People want to remove and replace. Remove and replace, by remove and replace, I mean remove people who they think stood against their desires during the last election, and replace them with people who they feel will play along with their intentions when the next election comes. You will see some governors gathering together with the intention of removing Oshiomhole. It is not because they don't like Oshiomhole's face. It is simply because they feel Oshiomhole proved a hard nut to crack for them during the last election. Some of their desires they were unable to achieve. But for APC to really check the menace that is fast taking over the party must show the will to discipline. APC has currently constituted and presented lacks that will to discipline. I am shocked that at the time when we're talking about ending crisis, the party simply announced that suspensions that were meted out to certain people have been lifted. How were they punished? A serious party will not do such a thing. You suspended some governors for working against their own party. While they were purportedly on suspension, they were saying it in public spaces that they are not on any suspension. They can't say any suspension because they were not communicated. They were faulting every move of the party to institutionalize the so-called punishment. We could see one or two of them having obvious upper hands in the nomination to federal cabinet in his states. We could see one of them still taking charge of the party in his state in spite of being on suspension and having worked for another party. And nearly all of them either contested and won election on the platform of the same party or supported people who won the election on the platform of the party. So after months or so of allegations and claims and counter claims that they were on suspension, the party simply announced that the so-called suspension has
been lifted
with no record or proof that they were actually punished for working against the party. The APC must go beyond lip services to rule of law within
an internal democracy.
It must really show that the party belongs to no particular persons or group of persons. It is only when it succeeds in doing that, then it will be able to resolve crises like this harmoniously.
Yes, it appears there's more pessimism than optimism in the ability of this 10-man panel to resolve the many crises bedeviling the All Progressives Congress in many states of the Federation. Well, that panel has a point to prove against the projections made on this platform. Still to come, Zamfara APC wants Senator Kabiru Marafa to stay away as former Governor Abdulaziz Yari makes big homecoming. Stay with Journalist Hangout. Glad to have you back on Journalist Hangout, showing on TVC. It has been 9 months since the last general election in Nigeria, but the ripple effects of what played out are yet to die down in some parties like the Zamfara State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC. The party lost the election in the state, yet it appears not to have learned its lessons. A group within the party in the state, Zamfara State APC Concerned Citizens, has asked Senator Kabiru Marafa to stay away from involving himself in the affairs of the party. The secretary of the group, ironically, Aliyu Marafa, said any move by the senator to get involved in the affairs of the APC in the state would be resisted. He accused Marafa of working for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state. Meanwhile, former governor of the state, Abdulaziz Yari, has made a big homecoming after a long absence. A crowd of party faithful trooped out to welcome him home in Talata Mafara. Let's share that moment with you. Impressive crowd there welcoming home the former Governor Abdulaziz Yari. Babajide, Senator Marafa's kin, Ibrahim Marafa, says Kabiru Marafa, yes, the spokesman for the APC group, yes, says Kabiru Marafa is still working for the PDP instead of his own supposed party. Now, is this a continuation of the war of attrition between Senator Kabiru Marafa and his former, well, maybe still foe, the former governor, Abdulaziz Yari?
Yeah, clearly the Yari's camp is in complete control of the mainstream APC in the state. The chairman of the party in the state, Lawan Liman, is of the Yari camp. And the structures of the party are in Yari's hands. So Yari remains very strong, very effective in the APC in the state. Kabiru Marafa, along with 9 other members, were expelled after the party lost the state, because several efforts were made to get Marafa to withdraw the case from court, but he refused. He was bent on ensuring that rather than Yari's camp producing the governor, that the party lost the state. And the APC literally killed APC within, in Zamfara, because the PDP was lying in wait. And like a vulture, the PDP pounced on the carcass of the
APC's
APC
loss
in Zamfara State. So, and with this new administration, many of the henchmen, the strong supporters of Kabiru Marafa, have been appointed into the current PDP administration in the state. So in such a situation, do you still want to tell people that you are a member of their party when your heart is clearly not in the party? When you worked, you did your best to make sure that the party didn't win the election. I remember the interview that Kabiru Marafa granted on the day the Supreme Court gave that judgment. He was not remorseful. He was saying that, yes, what happened was very good. And he was even claiming that the president would be happy about the action that he took. So I now say that the president will be happy that his own party
lost
Zamfara, an APC state that had never voted PDP. Even when an APP governor, Mahmoud Shinkafi, defected to the PDP as a sitting governor, they voted him out. So you are telling me that the president will be happy? What kind of president would President Buhari be to be happy that his own party lost the state? So this Kabiru Marafa's behavior was really demonstrated in discipline, lack of respect for constitutional authority, and disloyalty to his own party. So I don't think he can hold himself up as a loyal party man. And that is the point that these people are saying that, look, we see you hanging around trying to show that you are still in our party, but we've expelled you. And the expulsion was done from the ward level. That is what the Constitution says, that suspension of an APC member cannot come from the top. It has to begin from the ward level. And that's what they have done. Whether the party, and the party was communicated. The former deputy governor was also expelled, you know. But the party was communicated. Whether the party at the national level agrees to the suspension is a different kettle of fish, knowing the APC and some of their idiosyncrasies. But the truth is, Kabiru Marafa cannot expect to be seen as a loyal party man when a lot of his own, in fact, one of his boys, in inverted commas, is a current SSG in the PDP administration. And some of them, one was also his own blood brother, was also appointed to a committee to investigate the last administration. So you cannot say that, yes, he may have been aloof, but this current administration is rewarding people loyal to him. Appointing them, look at the former deputy governor, has been appointed as a permanent member of the board that handles the welfare of pilgrims in the state. The former deputy governor, I mean, the former party chairman, the party chairman, the chairman of his faction, being appointed into the administration. So he cannot say that he's a loyal party man, and this is the point that these people are making, that look, our party, yes, we have lost this election, but we remain intact, we remain strong, and we will not permit you to come back after what you did before the election.
If you have additional thoughts to those expressed by Babajide, they're welcome. But what signal is Yari's grand homecoming now sending?
Well, I think for an immediate past governor whose party lost to the opposition in the very last election, and his party did not even lose. Whose party won an election, and lost to the opposition in court due to technicalities. He couldn't have come back home in a better style. He needed to do some sort of show of force. The current governor has been dismissing Yari a lot of late. As much as I've been impressed by one or two things the new governor is doing, I've been very, very worried about his incessant attacks on Yari. It is unnecessary. These are distractions he should avoid. Yari is popular in Zamfara State. The current governor did not defeat him. That's the reality. And when you have such a person, it's just like a popular Oba that has just been deposed by the court and is still living within the town. The new Oba will be very careful because he has the crowd. Yari still has the crowd in Zamfara. He's just waiting for the next electoral contest to show the new man who is the real leader. So that is a very fantastic way of showing that, look, I know my people and my people know me. And that's what he has done. For Senator Kabiru Marafa, what I have for him is just a piece of advice. Marafa is a fantastic politician. I've followed him for quite a while. He has always been in the same camp with Yari until this their recent face-off. But there is nowhere in the world you will eat your cake and you still have it. With his decision to get to the very end of this struggle he had with his party the last time, he lost any claim in APC in Zamfara. So my advice for him that he should leave the party for those who are currently bearing the brunt of his action. Marafa lost nothing with what he did. And like we said before we switched over to this topic, the national leadership of APC did not punish him in any way. And that is why we are seeing what we will be seeing a repeat if care is not taken. Marafa is one of those that should have been nationally punished to serve as examples, because he was not hiding his decision to bring down the party if need be. It is either I have my way or the party goes down. And he did it so excellently. There were allegations that he supported the legal struggle of the PDP to take over the party. If those are lies, it's like my grandmother would say that a man went to war and when he came back he claimed that he killed 7 people. And people were saying you are a liar. He marched on 7 chicks and they all died. And when he entered the room, he had 7 bowls of eba. They said if he didn't see the one he did on the war front, can't you see the one he's doing at home? If we don't want to believe that Marafa worked against his party. The fact that his men are being placed in this administration, are those not enough evidences to show that he is more comfortable with the PDP in Zamfara than he is with APC? And when you have such a scenario, the best for him and the best political move for Marafa to make so that he will remain relevant in the politics of Zamfara is to leave APC and go to PDP. If he leaves APC and he goes to PDP, he will be an obvious opposition to Yari and people will see him. So whatever he's doing will show. But if he stays buried in the ragtag faction he is laying claim to in APC, the people will continue to despise him as a forgotten politician. So he should allow APC to mend its broken fences. He should allow them to pick the pieces of their party, which they are doing brilliantly, and move on. He should not constitute himself into a menace further than he has done
already in Zamfara State. But then again, with the continued division, Dari says Yari is a king in waiting. But what does this portend, the continued division portend for the next election in Zamfara State? And they preparing for another loss?
Oh, no. The truth is, those who have left the party, those whose hearts are no longer with the party, you shouldn't continue to see them as members of the party. They are already enjoying the current administration. If someone who is factional chairman gets appointed as a permanent member of the board, your own factional chairman, and is working fully in this administration, how can he still lay claim to being a member of PDP? Or of APC? You know? If your own blood brother has been appointed into the administration, you can't continue to say that, APC is your party. What moves did you make when they appeal to you to drop your case in the interest of the party? Did you drop the case? Because the real party men, loyal party men, look at Faleke now. After all that happened between him and Yabelo insulting him, calling him a politician that has failed, this and that. After you snatch what was supposed to belong to him.
It belonged to him.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu told you that, look, loyalty is never abbreviated. Go and work for your party. I'm sure it was a big decision for him to take, because before the primaries of the APC, he left for the US. He didn't want to get involved. But he came back and he was told, go and work for Yabelo. And he surrendered all his coordinators, because he had coordinators from all the 3 senatorial zones, because he inherited the structures of the late Abubakar Odu. And at the end of the day, he had to work for the man. And they delivered. They delivered. In my hometown, for example, if Faleke had not been involved, there's no way they would have, Yabelo would have received the kind of votes that he got there.
We have Akinola from Ibadan. Hello, Akinola. Thank you for holding on. Okay, we apologize. We've lost that call.
So
we
won the states. He won my hometown with an audacious margin. If Yabelo had gone there to campaign, he would not even have been received, except he forced himself on them. You know? But a party man, a loyal party man, was told, go and work for him. And he listened to his godfather. And today, the APC won that state. We may quarrel with the overall way they won the state, but they won the state. You know, it could have been worse if he didn't have loyal party men to work with him. One of the things that he benefited tremendously from was the fact that, look, the misgivings that they had, as soon as the elections were approaching, they put all that behind them. And Yabelo didn't have problems within his own party in his state. They all jumped in and assisted him. So that is not likely to happen in Ondo State, except they work hard. You understand? Because of what we talked about earlier. So in Zamfara, there are lessons to learn. You must work for your party. You must not do your best and consciously bring your party down. Anybody who does that should not be rewarded. Should not, and that is what these guys are saying. They said, we call on the state and national leadership of our party to urgently do the needful, take all the necessary steps and legal actions against Marafa to stop interfering in the affairs of the APC family in Zamfara and Nigeria at large. You can't eat your cake and have it. You can't reap where you did not sow. They want to show that they can run that party in spite of him. And they will do it.
Derek, very briefly, do you agree with the extreme political lesson of the Faleke example?
No, it is just the way to go. Because if you look at what happened in Kogi, without Faleke, Yabelo will struggle. I'm not saying he may probably not have won. You don't win election even if you have to rig. You don't win election where you are not popular, where you don't have foot soldiers. There are parts of Kogi, especially in the west, where Yabelo without a Faleke would not have been able to defeat PDP. It's impossible. Right. So with Faleke agreeing to submit himself to party supremacy, we saw what happened in Kogi, and that's something every politician should learn from.
Bitter lessons there. Moving on, it is a familiar story in Birnin Gwari, Kaduna State, yet a sad and troubling one. For the 18th time, kidnappers have abducted a traditional ruler in the area. On Wednesday, yet to be identified gunmen abducted the district head of Birnin Gwari Central, Abubakar Yahaya, along Kaduna-Birnin Gwari Highway. The kidnappers also kidnapped a former education secretary identified as Ibrahim Musa. Both were said to be traveling on the highway. The incident came after a prolonged lull in kidnapping in that axis due to negotiations between the bandits and residents. Now, palpable fear has gripped travelers for the Christmas celebration. Babajide, when you mention Birnin Gwari, there is fear in the hearts of not just travelers, residents. Why does that road, that expressway, continue to evoke such fear?
Because for a long time, it was the capital of armed banditry. For a long time, for years. And that forest stretches from Birnin Gwari right up to the boundary with Kebbi State. So there is a huge expanse of land within which these boys can hide. So they are usually difficult to track down. That same road, you know, in Kaduna now, flights operations only happen in the morning hours because travelers have been along the road leading to the airport. Travelers are known to have been picked up, you know, in the afternoon and all that. So you are going to Kaduna now, you go by first flight. By 9 o'clock, no flight anymore. And if you walk in the airport, once it's 5 going to 6, you better sleep in the airport. That area is that unsafe. It is, you are coming out of the airport, you see that road that leads to Birnin Gwari, largely deserted. People would rather go and take long journey going through Lokoja. They are coming here instead of going through Niger State from Birnin Gwari, get to Kainji and all these places to Kwara and then come here, which was the route that was popular in those days. But because that whole area is infested by banditry, by bandits, people would rather go through long journey than risk their lives. Because these guys, they open fire on vehicle. If they tell you to stop, you don't stop, they open fire. They are ready to kill every occupant of your vehicle. So it is that bad. The road is largely abandoned. And for so long, we've not, remember these same bandits killed a group of Nigerian soldiers who were deployed to Birnin Gwari some time ago. We have not been able to put an end to their menace. And banditry is now expanding in Niger State, you know, because Birnin Gwari is like the boundary between Kaduna and Niger, you know, and it's such a huge area, about 6,185 square kilometers. Now, many of the bandits who have fled Zamfara because of the peace initiative, who can no longer operate in Katsina, they've gone to the Shiroro area. Nearly all the local governments in Shiroro are not safe. And then this Birnin Gwari area, they are there, they are operating. So you know that once you are passing through that area, you know that your life is at great risk. This is the problem that we have. The ever-growing terror visited on travelers by bandits. The government must do something drastic. We can't continue to risk people's lives in the hands of bandits. Lokoja, Abuja Highway, that one is also dangerous. People get killed too. So there are so many of our highways that you cannot even deem as safe. So maybe when big people like traditional rulers get kidnapped, then attention will
be focused on that. But every life is important, really. And our correspondent in Kaduna, Tesema Kende, gives us a stronger sense of the fear on that highway. He talks about the Kamuku forests is the most dreaded after Sambisa forest, and is really a huge expanse of forest stretching from Katsina to Niger to Sokoto to Jigawa and other states. And he says the reason even the army has been unable to bring the bandits to their knees, as Babajide said, that is because the bandits have more mastery of the terrain than the military.
They are constantly moving.
How worried are you, Darren?
Any serious person will be worried. You see, I'm particularly worried because last year or so, was it the year before, we celebrated the government of Kaduna State in being able to curb activities of bandits in this same Birnin Gwari. I mean, it was as if finally a solution came. So, but our inability to sustain this war on terror worries me. Today, we were talking, of late now, the Lokoja, Abuja road, we are hearing less stories about it. But will it remain that way? The Birnin Gwari, the return of terror to Birnin Gwari is a warning to us that we are yet to be able to sustain gains of this war on terror, war on criminalities. Because if Birnin Gwari became manned enough and criminals left, if they are returning, I just spoke about those who are fleeing from Zamfara. They are not good. They only agree to peace in Zamfara and Katsina. That's not to say they will not go elsewhere. It's just like what the new CP in Lagos is saying. Odumosu, he's saying, as far as he's concerned, criminals leave Lagos. So they are leaving Katsina, they are leaving Zamfara. They obviously will look for other places to
elsewhere.
go. So if you are not sustaining your effort in areas where they left earlier, they will come back.
But then again,
And if they find
human capital development on the northern corridor is poor. All those youths have nothing to do. So evidently they will resort to criminality.
That's a national issue. You see, we talk about this thing in the north, in the east. It's a national issue. We have too many unemployed youths. And do you know what I've even discovered from a recent study? The issue of unemployed youth will soon become a child's play. By the time we'll be comparing it to the number of unemployable youths we are soon to have. They are two different things. Nigerian youths are fast becoming more and more unemployable by the day because they are tired of examples of your brothers who went to school or cousins who went to school and they have nothing to do. It's fast getting into the end of some people, and people are no longer getting trained. Those who are trained are not vast in what they are trained for, and you now have a situation whereby even if the jobs are available, the youths themselves are not fit for the jobs. They are losing hope, they are losing faith, they are losing interest in seeking for legal and normal means of livelihood. Everybody is looking for shortcuts, and the number of guys who wants to play Niger bet and win and make it
are increasing by the day.
Is increasing by the day, and this leads to a crop of unemployable youths. So these unemployable youths, when they grow to a certain age, they will take to crime, and then we'll be talking about not being able to end criminality. So it's a big worry if again traditional rulers are being picked up in Birnin Gwari. It means that on the local Abuja road soon will have criminals.
Even the Kaduna Abuja highway is still
highway.
unsafe.
Yes, it's a desperate situation, but then again, the solutions are somewhere out there. That's all we have for you on the program today. You can join us tomorrow for another edition of the program. You can also watch Journalists Hangout on other platforms showing now on your screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TBC News Nigeria. Don't forget, our feedback channel is Journalists Hangout at tbcnews.tv. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo, and thank you, gentlemen, for being on the program today. Join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.